Dallas Mavericks rumors are starting to heat up about what they might do with their last spot in free agency on their roster. Harrison, Graham, Jeffrey Cooperstein. We're going to talk Spencer Dinwiddie, Dennis Smith Jr., and Talen Horton-Tucker. Marc Stein dropping a big report over the weekend. We'll get into those three guys in a second. But, Coop, we live in Texas.
We do.
Bucky's is a staple in Texas.
It is.
What is your favorite item? You, me, and also the audience, if you guys have been to Bucky's, what is your go-to get at a Bucky's if you're making a pit stop?
Mine is the gummy bears. I love those gummy bears. It's either those or the beaver nuggets every time.
For me, I'll go two things. One, their pimento cheese is awesome if you like pimento cheese. Two, I like the breakfast sandies you can get.
Those are solid, yep.
They usually have a little sausage, egg, and cheese, a little different mix-up. I like beaver nuggets, but I'm not one of these, that's like the cliche answer. I feel like
they're good.
Well, my thing is I can have about 3 of those, and then I feel like, oh my God, if I have another one, I might explode. So Bucky's is great. If you've never been to one, go check one out. And if you're not from Texas and ever are here, it's a must-stop, no question about it. All right, Coop, let's talk Spencer Dinwiddie. Marc Stein dropping the report yesterday that the Mavericks might not wait as long as they did last year to finish their roster. They might be proactive here, and it sounds like Spencer Dinwiddie is the guy they would prefer to sign and get on this team.
Yeah, Stein said he's the likely favorite to fill that final spot on the Mavs roster, and that's something we've kind of known for a while now, is that the Mavs and Dinwiddie have had talks over a potential reunion, and it would make the most sense simply because he fills what the Mavs need the most, I think, out of anyone that's still on the market.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's got good size as a guard. He can play make. He's not a great defender, but his size kind of helps in that regard because he'll rebound the basketball at least, get the occasional steal. And look, these stats with Dallas were a bit of an outlier, but it was 76 games. So basically for a full season worth of hoops, he had the best stretch of his career here, clearly was comfortable playing next to Luka Doncic and playing in this Jason Kidd system. I think having a point guard as a coach probably helped get the best out of him as well. This past year with the Lakers
Brooklyn and LA.
Not great, not very efficient. Could still score, but didn't do so at an efficient clip. So I'm not expecting him to shoot as efficient as he did in Dallas, but can you split the difference? Can you shoot 42, 43% from the field and 35, 36% from three? I think that's more than doable. We know he can create off the bounce as well. So clearly he was comfortable here. I really enjoyed having him.
Me too.
I think the addition of him was critical in that run to the conference finals a couple years ago.
And you're not expecting him to play that same role that he played a couple years ago. It would be a little diminished. He'd play probably a few less minutes than he did. Yeah. But to have a guy as your kind of safety net that you know and you trust can run the offense in a pretty efficient manner, it is an underrated part of this team, and the Mavs are looking for that, and I think Dinwiddie clearly makes the most sense. There wouldn't be like a transition period. He already knows the offense, and he knows what Jason Kidd wants, so he could pretty much jump right in and go from the bat.
And let's be real, too. I mean, Kyrie and Luka have such high usage rates. I think Dallas, needs to start thinking a little bit beyond just 1 year at a time in terms of, we're in a win-now window, but that doesn't mean we want these guys playing 38 minutes a night. So you can kind of manage their minutes, especially Kyrie's as he gets older here. And Dinwiddie on certain nights can give you 25 minutes, and he is certainly capable of doing that and holding down the fort. What do you guys think? Would you sign Spencer Dinwiddie? Type S for sign, P for pass. Get your votes in the comment section below. How about Dennis Smith Jr.? Stein also reporting that he's been in the mix. He's been in talks, and we've kind of known this for a while. Tim McMahon, early on in free agency, Coop, put it out there that when he asked a source in the Mavericks building, have they discussed Dennis Smith Jr., they didn't dismiss it. So that is at least an acknowledgement that they've had some interest there. Obviously a different type of player. He's not going to give you the offensive ability that Dinwiddie is, but he can handle the basketball. He can dish a little bit. He's certainly a better transition player. He's so athletic in the open court. And one area he's definitely better at is he is a really good defender. Yeah, he's kind of transformed his game and has kind of elongated his career in the NBA by becoming a very good defense-first point guard, honestly. You know you're not going to get much shooting especially from him, but he can push the pace a little bit.
and he also can sort of run the offense in a pinch. I think Dinwiddie is probably a better offense-first guy than Dennis is, but if you're looking for someone who can be that shutdown guard on defense at a cheap price, I think Dennis is that guy. And I do think the story of him returning would be cool. While the Mavs drafted him with the 9th overall pick back in 2017, he would be returning a different player and older, wiser, more mature. So I do think it would be a cool story.
Yeah, it'd be fun. I'd like to see it happen. I'd still rather go Dinwiddie.
Agreed.
For the reason of you have Dante Exum, who can provide a lot of what Dennis does, versatile defense. He's a better at least shooting player offensively. Now he's not going to give you the athletic profile that DSJ would, but to me, if you're going to go Dennis, you're almost like hedging a bit that, well, what if Exum doesn't play like he did last year? So I think that would come down to how do they feel about Dante Exum, and I think you should feel pretty good about him. I know he didn't play great in the playoffs, but he kind of found his game a little bit in the finals again. So I think at least as a regular season rotation guy, I think Exum can close to replicate what he did last year, hopefully. And if that's the case, I'd rather have the ball handling initiator that Spencer Dinwiddie is. But I certainly wouldn't be upset if they ended up going with Dennis Smith.
Yeah, I think he'd be a solid second option. I think both of us are on the same page where we'd prefer Dinwiddie. But if they ended up with Dennis Smith, I don't think that you could really go wrong there. And I think he would provide some good stuff for this team.
Talk about Talen Horton-Tucker in a second. But if you want free coverage on your Dallas Mavericks, look no further. Coop did a Summer League winners and losers wrap-up video yesterday. If you guys want to go check that out, subscribe, go to the content tab. It's right there. A bunch of other videos that we've published recently as well available at your disposal, and plenty more to come. So subscribe today. We appreciate your love and support. A name we have, I think, not mentioned once.
Not one time,
on
no.
the show this offseason is Talen Horton-Tucker. He's also somebody that Stein reports has been on the Mavericks' radar, and he had a decent year last year in Utah, not super efficient, Coop, but a 10-point scorer, 3.5 assists, so he can create a little bit. They kind of used him as a point guard a little bit as well, which, look, if he's going to continue to stick around the NBA, it's probably a good move for him to
Certainly
have the ability to initiate an offense. So, I think if Dallas signs him, they probably think he can do at least a little bit of that.
Yeah, last year he primarily played point guard for Utah. Now we know they weren't a very good team and they had a bunch of injuries and whatnot, so he kind of did it out of necessity, but he still had a decent year. You could argue it was the best year of his young career so far after he started out in LA and then went over to Utah. Look, if the Mavs don't end up with Dinwiddie or Dennis Smith, I think this is a decent fallback option. Like I said, you're not expecting this guy to play 20 to 25 minutes a game. This is more of your 10 to 15 minutes a night, if they're even in the rotation on any given night. And I think that he's kind of a plug-and-play guy where you could not play him for a couple games and then you could just put him in and maybe he gives you something.
The way I kind of view all these guys is, at minimum, are you a clear upgrade over AJ Lawson? And I like AJ Lawson. He had a decent summer league, and I know that's not the roster spot we're talking about.
But it is.
But it kind of is, because if Markieff Morris returns, if you sign one of these guys, that means you're probably cutting AJ Lawson.
Yeah.
So, I think in all three of these cases, you're talking about guys who have proven way more at the NBA level than AJ Lawson has. So I'd be cool with any of them, and I think that's how I would order it. I would want Spencer Dinwiddie first. If that wasn't an option, I would turn to Dennis Smith, and I think Talen Horton-Tucker is a third option. It's still decent, and I don't think he'd be in your playoff rotation, but I think over the course of a regular season, he could certainly help you out. So let us know who you guys would prefer, 1 for Dinwiddie, 2 for DSJ, or 3 for THT at Talen Horton-Tucker. We'll talk about Markieff in a second, but did want to mention real quick, the Mavs draft hats are still available. They're sweet, different styles, flat bills, snapbacks, curved bills, fitted, non-fitted, all available. Chatsports.com/Mavs draft. We'll get that link in the description and comments for you guys. And Markieff Morris, Coop, what's the latest here?
Yeah, Stein basically reiterated that Markieff is a, quote, lock to re-sign with the Mavs. He's still technically a free agent, but the Mavs are, it seems, pretty set on bringing him back, which, like you mentioned, does mean that AJ Lawson's roster spot is probably in jeopardy, and he's going to be cut.
And I think it sucks for him, but I think you need to go that route if you're going to do that, Coop, because if you re-sign Markieff, he's basically unplayable.
Exactly.
You can't have two guys that are virtually unplayable. And look, Lawson's still young, but outside of blowout situations or like extreme load management situations, you're not putting them in there. So like you don't want two guys at the end of your bench that like barring disaster, that's the only time they're going to play. So I think what's likely going to happen here is you're going to pick one of these guards, you're going to re-sign Markieff, and Lawson's going to get cut. And if he wants to return on a two-way, he will, but he may explore other options too. But I'm not going to live in a world where I'm worried about what happens with AJ Lawson.
Agreed.
Like, good guy, seems to work hard, decent summer league, but like he's never playing for you in the postseason.
Like Stein said, I mean, Markieff Morris is basically your Udonis Haslem, where he's not going to play. He's just there to be the veteran presence in the locker room.
He's a vibes guy.
To be the vocal and the vibes guy. And if it means that AJ Lawson's going to go elsewhere, so be it. I can't lose any sleep over losing AJ Lawson.
Especially if you're getting Dinwiddie or DSJ, someone who you know can play for you, and when they're on the court, you're not worried. Like if AJ Lawson enters in a tight game late, I'm like, that might be problematic.
No doubt. So, just to put a little wrap on the summer league here, real quick. Pretty disappointing summer league for the Mavericks, I'd say. I don't think that Omax Prosper helped his status as far as being in the rotation goes. I don't think he hurt himself.
Which is another reason, I know it's a different position, but getting a guy that can play in the rotation, even if I think you kind of need to do that.
And we talked about AJ Lawson. I don't think he helped his status either. No. The guy who I thought was really good was Brandon Williams, but he's already signed to a two-way deal, so that didn't really change anything.
His size is always going to be a problem, too.
I would say that we did not learn anything from this Mavs Summer League team.
Yeah, a couple guys we were monitoring. I thought Miller was good the first two games. Then they put him in the starting lineup, and he wasn't as good. Yep. So I don't know what to make of that. Maybe he's still in contention for a two-way. The 7-5 guy is intriguing.
Jamarion Sharp,
Like, I would like actually adding him on a two-way, even if he's, like, probably not to that level, just because
can't teach 7-5.
He's a unique player, man. Put him down in Frisco on a two-way and see what he could do. One thing he did show pretty consistently is he can protect the rim.
Yep.
So I'm intrigued about developmental traits there. But yeah, nothing really stood out. You didn't see anybody go on 2 or 3 game tears like a lot of these other teams had guys do. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and panic about Omax. When you draft 2 guys, you're kind of hoping one pops.
Exactly.
You've already gotten that out of Lively. I still think Omax is an NBA defender, but he's still pretty freaking raw offensively, man. So certainly a ways to go there.
Yep, absolutely. And if anything happens with the Mavs, if they sign Spencer Dinwiddie or Dennis Smith or whoever, we will keep you guys updated. So please be sure to hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you soon.
Peace.